Now, the purpose of creating the toolbox is to simplify your workflow in Lightroom. However, if you're brand new to presets or haven't used anything like this before, I understand that it can be a little bit overwhelming at first sight. So in this little quick video, I just want to show you a couple tips and tricks on how you can use it more efficiently, a couple things that you might not have thought about before, and I'm also going to explain a few of the more advanced presets or tools. So first of all, one of the really neat things in this toolbox is that you can stack multiple tools, multiple presets. So if I click on Smart Exposure plus 0.5, you'll see that nothing happens here in the basic panel. Instead, we have a filter, or sorry, a mask that is applied in your mask tab. Now, if you hover over the mask, you can see that everything is red. That means that this mask affects the entire photo. In other words, our adjustment affects the entire photo. Now, the reason why I do this is that we can stack multiple presets. So if I now click on, for example, Smart Exposure -1, you can see that this is added up in the mask tab as well. So if we go back to our basic panel, nothing has actually happened here. If we, instead of using masks, had applied it directly into the basic panel, the -1 would have canceled out the first adjustment, which means we can't use more adjustments that all target the same type of settings. For example, any adjustment that targets the highlights will cancel out previous adjustment targeting the highlights as well. So instead, we're mostly working in the masking section. There are exceptions. For example, most of the color adjustments are not using a mask, they're actually using the color mixer or the color grading tool. This is because not all tools are available in masks as of yet. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, and if that does, I will make sure to update that as the time comes. Now, let's reset this, and I'm going to show you another really cool feature in Lightroom. So let's say, again, we're going to apply our plus 0.5 smart exposure. But we find that it is a little bit too strong for my photo. I want to brighten the photo, but maybe not quite this much. One option is to then go into your mask, open the mask, and then reduce the exposure, yada yada, but this can get a little bit advanced. So instead, just use this amount slider right here, and we can reduce the amount, and you can see that we are just reducing the opacity of our adjustment, meaning we're reducing the strength of that particular preset. This is really handy because not every preset will fit perfectly onto every photo right away. Though the concepts are the same, every raw file or every image is slightly different. So you can always adjust any preset by using the amount slider. You can either reduce the amount or you can increase the amount depending on what your particular photo need. So again, let's use one more example. We can go down to our Boost Blues. And again, I think this is a little bit too blue for my taste, so we can just go into the mount and reduce that to what we think is more suiting. And as I said, this will work for every single preset in here, so make sure to use that as much as you can to make sure that every preset fits the photo that you're working on. Now, I know that not everyone is completely familiar with masking, and well, I'm not going to turn this into a mask course. I want to explain a little bit about how it works. So let's scroll a little bit further down and find a preset that can create a mask for us. Let's use this directional light left soft. So again, now you see we have created a new mask up here. If I hover over it, you'll see that only parts of the photo is actually red, which means only part of this photo will be affected. In this case, only this area is affected by the adjustment. Anything within here is from 50% to 100%, and from here 0% to 50%, which means we have very soft, gentle transition of our adjustment. And again, as with other presets, not every horizon, not every light source is going to be in the exact same place. So what you can do, you can always change the you can always change the mask to make it fit your photo. In this case, we can just grab this knob and move it a little bit up, so we set the center point to be more around the horizon, which better fits our photo. Another example is when we're darkening the sky. Again, we will get a new mask. If we hover over the mask, you can see exactly how what parts of the photo is affected. If you click on that, and then we click on the linear gradient, we can move that up or down to soften our transition and make the mask better for our particular photo. Now, I understand that this is getting a little bit advanced, but it's still a lot easier than making everything by yourself. If you spend a little bit of time working on these tweaks, you're quickly going to see what the benefit is of the toolbox and exactly how it can improve your photos. Okay, the very last thing that I want to show you in this quick video is two presets called dodge and burn. Let's do the dodge first. Dodging means brightening. And as you can see, we have a black mask right now. Nothing has happened. But it says here, paint to use. So if we now click on the mask, and then we start painting on the parts we want to brighten, for example, this water, you can see that we're just adding a little bit more brightness to them. And as you can see now, our mask is starting to become more red in the areas that we've been painting. And what happens now is we're just brightening these particular areas. For example, this little wave back here, we can adjust the brush size. We'll go multiple times, and if we turn that on and off, you can see we just gently brightened our water. The burn does the same thing, but it darkens instead of brightens. So again, we click on our mask, we can increase the brush size, and then we just paint here in the sky to darken that. Maybe want to darken a little bit down here, some of the rock. If you turn that on and off, you can see we just darken some place. So it's important to understand that when you click on either the dodge or the burn mask, you still have to do a little bit of manual work yourself, but the effects can be quite magnificent. But the effect can be really, really good. All right, so that was the few things I want to show you, and hopefully this clarifies a few questions you have about the toolbox, and it makes your journey a lot easier. So thanks again for listening, and good luck. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out and ask.